World. We're live with Linda, correct?
Linda, yes.
And we're here at Immerse, and we've got some other interviews going on today. Tell us a little bit about what you do and what industry you're from, and give us a bit of your story.
Okay, well, my name is Linda Aronson, and I started out in theatre. I moved from theatre as a writer, and I moved from theatre into film and television. I've also written novels, and I've also written for radio. I then wrote a book on how to construct films and television that used multiple non-linear storylines, so flashbacks, time jumps, multiple protagonists, multiple interconnecting storylines, because the conventional Hollywood model talks about one chronological journey of one hero, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of films aren't like that, you know. And so I wrote a book about that, and that became very successful, and I started to travel the world talking to professional writers and film school students about how you could do this, because we all wanted to know how you could do flashback without falling flat on your face, right?
Yep.
So that's what I do. I then, many years ago now, I first walked into a dome where they had an early VR experience, and this involved ancient television monitors, great big bulky things,
Yep.
hanging up all around the space, the 360 space, and what they were doing there was projecting images that they'd cut from soap opera. And I thought, well, that's sort of interesting if you're interested in soap opera. For me, I can tell stories like this. I can tell multiple non-linear stories in a 360 space. And to me, VR invites multiple non-linear stories. So, you know, having one story that operates in flashback and having other stories running alongside it, using peripheral vision, doing all sorts of things with live action actors, real actors in this 360 stereoscopic space with spatial sound. It is just unbelievably realistic, and I wanted to make, you know, gut-wrenching, thought-provoking stories in that. I can also write comedy, but I don't want to do that in this particular space at the moment. So VR is a tool, can be used in many, many different ways. There's a whole exploding future for it. Me, I want to do non-linear live-action stories that actually really move people, immerse them emotionally.
Yeah. Creates empathy.
Creates huge empathy and creates suspense and tells a great story.
So you got introduced to VR just from that 360 monitor.
Yes,
in 2002, was it?
Yes, because I was I'm a writer, you know,
Yeah.
and I could see the potential of this, and I could see how to control the 360 space. A lot of people are frightened by 360 because they tend to sort of position actors around a camera and make them act, but that's very static. You can't do that to an audience that's used to music videos that
Yeah.
cut, you know, maybe twice a second.
Yeah.
You can't do that. It's just too slow. They'll walk away.
Yeah.
So the idea is to make the stories be connected in a way that you will piece them together, so it becomes a fascinating, exciting mystery story,
Yeah.
like 21 Grams or like Pulp Fiction or the Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. We can do that in VR. Why not?
Yeah.
So the latest thing I'm doing is live action. We're going to go to Africa. We will have people drowning in the Mediterranean, and you will be there. You know, your heart
You'll
will
be that
racing,
character, right?
Because, well, you will be watching a character. No, it's not a choice. It's not a
Okay.
game.
Yeah.
It's not a game. The point about games is this: I've nothing wrong with games. I've nothing wrong with science fiction or horror or fantasy. Any of these
Yeah.
things. I'm doing live action, real stories. This story in Africa is an epic story about 3 women who go through terrible dangers and who experience all of these awful things as they're all trying to get
Okay.
to Tripoli. So this is like an epic feature film.
Yeah.
It's a feature film.
And what perspective are you filming that? So you're not filming it from a character or
No.
actor perspective. You're filming it from third person, or the
Yeah,
audience
yeah.
is in the scene.
You'll be there watching a character. So you're close,
Yeah.
this close to me. Your actor will be right in your face like this,
Okay, yeah.
and it's incredibly powerful. You will be following the journeys of these people. You see, for me, there's 2 impulses in storytelling. Now, I've been storytelling for a long, long while,
Yeah.
and one impulse is, let's pretend, let's have a game. That's fine. The other is tell me a story. That is, I give myself to you as a storyteller, take me into a world I haven't been. Now, I am interested in that. It's not that the others are not valid. This is my
That's what
passion,
you're passionate about.
right? And what I want to do there is to use that that experience to give people huge suspense. They can't choose. They're thrown into this. You put my films, you open. The first film I've written, you open and you're in the middle of a shooting. It's just horrific. You're right in the middle of it, 360. It's happening around you. You are there, but the other characters are sort of around you. You're sort of in the middle of a story observing, if you like.
Yeah.
But it's extremely real. You can feel your heart beating because it's the technical stuff is so astonishing. The second one, it opens on a fight with three women fighting a man. There's a knife. They're covered in blood. You think, what on earth is going on? But then we're going to cut to another story.
Yeah.
Or else we're going to cut to an hour earlier, so you get there. So you set up a mystery, because the thing about flashback structures is that they create a mystery, and every time you go back to the story, another clue is given to you. And that's how you control it. So that's what I'm trying to do, and it's all about, for me, emotional immersion, but also ideas, big, serious, important ideas. So nothing wrong with a game, having fun, or whatever. This is really very serious.
Yeah, very
issues.
very awesome, very fascinating, very deep stuff.
Yes, I should say that the first film, the one where we open with gunfire, that is set in a war zone, and it is about a catastrophic accident that caused the death of a civilian, and what we see is the stories of all the people involved. So it's not just from one point of view. So we've got PTSD, we've got the person who was shot, we've got a doctor who was involved, and we have all these other things that are happening in peripheral vision. And I'm using peripheral vision because I can,
You can control the.
Well, you can observe things at your peripheral vision, and I can manipulate you emotionally. Here's something that I'll give to you, because this is an amazing thing about VR.
Yeah. So can I ask you a question? So how did you describe VR to someone that has never seen it before?
Well, for me, and everybody is different. Everybody in VR is different. VR is just a tool, okay? It's like a pencil. Use it for shopping list or for great picture, whatever. For me, VR is consciousness, because VR is not location. People get very excited about, gosh, we can replicate this room. Well, what's your point? Why do we care? Reality is about your consciousness, of you reacting emotionally to your environment, of you predicting what might happen here, of being able to think about what you're doing tonight, what you were doing this morning, holding it all in one place, and there's an emotional connection. Yep. It's not somebody's holiday snaps. It's not GoPro skiing holidays. Yep. This is something much more powerful. So that's what I'm trying to replicate and work with, that kind of emotional engagement, deep emotional engagement. So
it's amazing stuff. And so how can my audience find your work or see what you're working on?
Well, they can find my work on how they can create their material in nonlinear structures by going to my website, which is www.lindaaronson.com. They can also subscribe to a free newsletter where I talk about films that are coming out and films that maybe don't work because they've been using nonlinear in a way that wasn't sensible, and films that do work, and so on. So there's that. As far as these new pieces that I'm doing, we're still in post-production, and I'm working very closely with the VFX team, with the sound people. I'm sitting there at the computer looking at footage, because that's really what you have to do in VR. You're so part of this whole collaborative machine, and that's what I would say to people. Don't imagine that you can do everything in VR. I mean, you can make your own stuff, but it's lovely to work with other experts, because then it becomes enriched. Like anything, any live performance, theatre, film, whatever it is, it becomes enriched.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. And make sure you go check out her awesome work, and be sure to keep following.
Thanks
for joining. See ya.